in the den of iniquity. Vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment. What a pity. Tomorrow never certain. What was behind the curtain? The face of evil lurking with the shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble, could either pop or topple. Many will fall and stumble. Let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso. Cannons could reach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make me get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come fi get it. I say, run, run, come, make me get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come fi get it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners.
Hypergamy is the word. Ladies and gentlemen, the phenomenon that women tend to date, procreate, mate with those whom they consider at least at their level or higher in dominance hierarchy, whatever the hierarchy may be, looks, money, status, strength, whatever it tends to be. Across cultures, women are hypergamous. They want to go up, they don't go down. Men will tend to go down and everywhere, generally speaking. Because of the preferences of women, it tends to be the case that men tend to go across and down. So this is old news. Now, granted, you have the whole, every once in a while, Jordan Peterson comes along, and now we have Kevin Samuels and his show showing us with great empiricism, okay, great evidentiary force, showing us night after night from the mouths of women saying, this is what I indeed want. Plus, it's ancient wisdom anyways, nothing new, new names and so on and so forth. So why is it causing a stir? We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about hypergamy. We're going to talk about the fact that even though women say they want it, there's still segments of them that would want to shame a woman for wanting a provider man, and also segments of men. Ain't that right, R&B? Ain't that right, Complex Design? There's some men out there whom complain about hypergamy in rather non-nuanced ways. But today, we're going to be taking a very specific video and reviewing as is our want to do. So welcome, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this channel. My name is Iko Giamin, and I'm here with the lovely Joan Quinto as usual. What you got going?
Hey, everyone. It's going to be a fun topic here, you know. It's all about women's rights, I guess, or equality, feminism, you know. Definitely get to explore that those aspects, because you know these types of topics definitely hit those issues. So I guess I have an opinion or two about that.
An opinion or two about that. Okay, so we're going to be reviewing a video from Brini Lee, and the idea here is one that we've seen before, which is the whole thing of those rich men, you know, they're going to do bad things to you. Before we go in there, okay? Before we go to her video, I mean, any thoughts about that in general? Like why, or is this, in other words, do you recognize what I just said? Like I just said that thing and you laughed. I'm assuming it's a laugh of recognition. So what is that thing that people do and why do they do it? The Color Purple, for example, is a movie that, I don't know, are you familiar with the movie The Color Purple?
I've seen it a long time ago, but you know, I don't have a TV. I don't really.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Know,
well, you remember
stuff.
It's okay. You get this. You get the rich man, and you know you're gonna be barefoot, pregnant, bleeding, swollen. Just gonna be horrible. All right. Apparently. So what is that? Why? Why do we tend to do that? And it's across many cultures too. What's going on there? Or shall I ask you, like, do Filipinos do that? Is there a Filipino thing about telling women to, it's a modern thing What is it? What do you think about it? Is it a cross-cultural thing? Experiences with it in your life? Your thoughts before we get into Brini Lee's video.
So you asked me, Filipino culture, is there a tendency for women to
Talk
want
bad
to?
about, talk bad about the women who want to get with the rich man, or to say, hey, rich men are going to
Uh,
abuse you, they're going to
no.
subjugate you, they're going to beat you up, they're going to keep you chained up in your dungeon, they're going to be R. Kelly, whatever it may be, right? So the
I
idea
mean, yeah.
is that something that you've heard, or because you recognize the pattern, right? You recognize that kind of pattern.
Oh yeah, of
Some people,
course.
yeah.
I
But
mean,
is it
yeah.
there? And
Mhm.
what are your thoughts?
Yeah, okay, so I've experienced it from different um, phases of my life, right? I've experienced it differently growing up in the Philippines and then growing up, like in Hawaii, then moving to California. I don't think generally like more traditional, like conservative Filipinos, like they don't see it that way. I think a lot of from my experience again, but I mean, it's a totally different thing, like being like American Filipino, like born and raised in like California, for example. It's a totally different experience because growing up, like, yeah, women were encouraged to look for a rich guy. I mean, my mom went nuts when I was dating a doctor, which did not work out, but like, she was like excited about that. But then, as far as like Filipino women putting other women down or for wanting a rich guy, I mean, I never really experienced it personally, although I have kind of seen that from other circles of Filipinos. There's definitely, I think, from just my experience growing up, like there's the jealousy aspect. I definitely saw that a lot.
Okay.
There's
Okay.
a lot of like, oh, I should have married that doctor, kind of thing, that I see amongst like my aunts and like relatives and stuff like that. Like I definitely see that. Although a
Yeah.
lot of my aunts, they're all pretty successful
Should have married
themselves.
the lame. Should have married the lame in college. Now he's balling. He's coming showing up with a new S class with his new Becky, and you're like, oh,
No, definitely, I see that. But as far as like my generation or our generation, like our age range, millennials, like I definitely see it more coming up with the whole, social justice scene. I definitely see that like, oh yeah, rich men, capitalists, they're just going to take advantage of you and use you, abuse you, blah, 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 blah. So I've heard both sides. And for me, it's like, I don't really care for those types of things. So, that's that.
someone has a question on the screen.
Oh, not much. Hold on. What did I see?
Oh, so I think they asked what I was trying to. Why didn't the relationship with the doctor work out?
Oh, it was more. I think I talked about this last time. Like like he was going through depression, stuff like that, and I just could not like handle. Like I could not handle that kind of relationship. Where emotionally unstable. He had to be on medication, and just for me, like at that phase of my life, like I can't handle being with someone like that. So that was why it didn't
Okay,
work out. Yeah, you know.
gotcha. He was getting high on his own supply.
Yeah, exactly.
He was getting high on his own supply. So,
Yeah, that should be a
uh,
song that rhymes.
oh yeah, that's okay. What the 10 Crack Commandments by Biggie Smalls, right? So I think number 5, it's one of the rules. I think Aaron B will let me know. Never get high on your own supply. It's a simple rule there. But before we get into, we go further into, again, exactly what her video is. You're saying that there's a jealousy aspect. Okay. I was
Mhm,
trying to unearth some just basic common human, shall we say, emotions and
mhm.
tendencies. And jealousy is everywhere. So when
Yep.
people are jealous, there's that thing called sour grapes, right? Or, well, sour grapes is different. Sour grapes is a big part of it too. Do you know what you know what they mean by sour grapes, right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. And for sour grapes, for anyone who doesn't know, is basically it's a story. You're looking for grapes. You're looking for whatever it may be, that thing that's hard to get, right? And you're trying to reach for it, and you can't get it. And then you're like, crap, whatever. I don't want those grapes. They're probably sour anyways, right? It
Mhm,
is a psychological turn that us humans do, right? That's why it exists as a particular concept there. We call it sour grapes, where You wanted the grapes, you couldn't get the grapes, and then you curse the grapes. Right? So that kind of thing is just part of our human psychology as well. But you have mentioned the conservatism amongst the Filipinos
Mhm.
that make it such that, okay, they're probably gonna, while you have sour grapes and you still have jealousy and all that kind of stuff, the conservatism is not gonna make them argue with a straight face that they don't want that, right?
Right.
So when you go outside conservative squares where you now move away from nature, move away from just being true to whatever your nature is, and you lean more towards maybe a little bit more equality and more freedom, right?
Mhm.
Then you start making arguments about things like this. But we'll get into that, ladies and gentlemen. We will get into that. Indeed. Remember, okay, I'm gonna have a service. It's called Pick a Lame, pal, for the ladies. Ladies. Do you, okay, want a lame to come and clean up the mess that is your life currently? Do you want a lame, a doctor, an engineer, but you know he doesn't have that much swag? You want a pal. Pick a lame, pickalame.com. PAL. You know, you can lock him down while he's in college and you can do your partying and all that kind of stuff. And he'll later come through after he's got his degree and few years of experience and everything. And he'll come save your life. Pick a lame, ladies and gentlemen. And then your aunt will not be so, you know, she will not be disappointed, right? You think women will subscribe to my service? Okay, so here is another. Let me throw something else that's kind of slightly provocative on the table, which is, besides sour grapes and jealousy, if we move now into the world of the ideology, the world of the modern day, oh, it's misogyny and feminism and down with the patriarchy type stuff. In other words, the world of all this kind of freedom and equality talk, right? And away from the world of tradition and, shall we say, that which we tend to call nature, right?
Mhm.
There is a fact that feminism, okay, I'm going to say something here which Rush Limbaugh was the first that I heard say this. So you know it's going to be controversial and a little funny, maybe a little snarky. But you see, feminism is civil rights for ugly women, is what he used to say. If you guys didn't hear that correctly, feminism is civil rights for ugly women. Because you see, hey, if you are the it girl, if you are the girl that gets everything, you're the prom queen, so on and so forth, you don't mind, okay? You don't have any issues with your source of power. The source of power is the fact that men want you, right?
Right.
Okay. So you want things to be unequal like that. You want things to be unequal in the sense that you bring a value to it's your beauty, and then they bring a value, and boom, you're getting everything met. You don't like, hey, chill. However, you see, if things are equalized, who benefits more, right? It's not the it girl, it's not the prom queen that benefits more. She now has to work with the rest of you uglies. And the uglies are like, hey, you're not going to take us backwards, you women, right? Here goes the theory. Hey, women, you're not going to take us backwards. We uglies have made strides, okay? You're not going to start wanting or talking about wanting those. You're not going to openly profess hypergamy when it comes to a man's status, because that's dragging you down. Remember, you're going to end up in barefoot, pregnant in the kitchen, beaten up, blah, blah, blah. Remember the color purple, blah, 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 so on and so forth. Basically, this is what I just said is so base human nature that it's laughable. So true that it is laughable. In other words, I did not say, as they say, I ain't never lie. Okay, in the past, in the past minute there. Okay, that basically you have people who will not benefit in the sexual marketplace trying to shame other women into not playing a particular game. Do you see that, or any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely happens. You know, life's not fair, I guess, depending on your perspective. It kind of goes back to our conversation about beauty standards. You know, there's always that hierarchy, I guess, depending on who's viewing the hierarchy of beauty and ugly. Yeah, I mean, it goes back to human nature, right? We want what we don't have. You know, we envy what we don't have, and if we can't have it, well, why should they have it? You know, whatever that is.
Again, remember our philosophy here in this channel. Number one is that it is philosophical in the sense that it's not politically correct whatsoever. And the philosophy is this: no matter how crazy the room that we're in other words, the room of our human psychology, in the dark sides of our psychology, I don't care what you do with it, but let's not lie about each other. There's one thing I cannot stand is people lying that sour grapes, never heard of that. I don't feel jealousy. I don't think that, I'm not I don't do the sour grapes thing, or I don't try to pull other people down, or I've never seen that at all in the human population. All those people, it's all those other people out there that do that, right? In other words, even if you don't do it, you see the tendency in you, and you're able to recognize when you see the group pattern behavior that it is that tendency, that spirit that is manifesting itself in actions by the group. If you lie and say, no, it's not jealousy, it's not none of these base emotions, sour grapes has nothing to do with it, the oppression or the kind of, well, why should the it girl get all the advantage? Why can't I also get some advantage, right? If you deny that those things are part of you, then, there's no point. There is no basis for the conversation, right? So again, it's about facing, right? You talk about your meditation and the ego, right? If your ego starts getting triggered, in other words, Joan, if I tell you, hey, feminism is civil rights for ugly women, which, by the way, is not a definition of feminism, right? Because some people always want to anyways. So if I told you that feminism is civil rights for ugly women and you get triggered, what should you do about that, Joan?
If I get triggered,
what does that mean?
Okay.
Yeah, like when your blood temperature rises a little bit, the heat rises a little bit, you get a fight or flight mechanism. When that happens, what do you do about it, Joan?
Me personally, me being sitting up on the mountain. I mean,
yes, that's what we're saying, because in order to have the philosophical conversation, a lot of times we gotta always mention that, hey, it's not politically correct, nor is it judgmental, right? It is just true. And some of us cannot stand being outside the truth. Some of us cannot stand bullshit. And I'm one of those. My channel is all about that. Yeah. So when you get triggered by something like that, which for me is just a sign that, okay, I'm carrying a little bit of baggage that I should not be carrying. Right. There's no reason why those words should move me like that, because I recognize them to be true. What do you do in those kinds of instances of ego trigger, if you will?
Right. If I'm triggered by, the word ugly, it's probably because I felt that way about myself. Obviously, like when people, like, I guess just for my personal experience, if I'm triggered, it's because there's something about that has affected me personally, whether it's something I agree with or not, it affected me. So if I'm triggered by ugly, me sitting up in the mountain, I think about like, okay, why am I triggered? Okay, do I really need to react to this? Because, this is just something someone said. Doesn't mean it's personal attack on me. But that's just the thing, right? A lot of times people feel personally attacked by like a general statement. But thing was, that was just general statement, sarcastic statement, whatever, But for me, it's like, okay, if I hear that, that's just someone's, description of something because he's trying to make a point. I get that. If I'm triggered, it's probably because I felt ugly. So that's, but again, I just don't think about those things in that way, because I reflect like, should I let this get to me personally? No, because now I know
think
how
about it, Joan. That's why you reflect. That's why you talk about the meditation. That's why you're up in the mountains, because you have thought and solved and have a path, right?
Yeah. I mean, I read this somewhere, when you feel triggered, that's an opportunity for you to heal from whatever's triggering you. So for me, it's like, yes, I have thought about it. That's why I've said like, I'm triggered because I've thought about the times I felt ugly, but I've accepted myself and I've navigated my emotions through that. And so if I hear certain things that are triggering, like, I've reflected enough to where like, okay, I'm not going to let that, get me down, be present, all that stuff.
Indeed. You might just rubbing your hand through your skin and all of a sudden, ouch, you feel a sore spot. You're not just going to ignore it, right? You're going to go there and you're going to put some balm on it. You're going to take care of it. Like if your shoulders, just like you're going to massage it. Same thing. If somebody says a word and all of a sudden your ego is enraged and you're inflamed in the inside, in the spirit, hey, there's something that you need to go take care of there. because we get pragmatic over here. Okay, we keep things simple because that's where power lies. If your ego can get triggered that easily, you are limited in that dimension, right?
Mhm.
That's a place where people can grab a hold of you and
Mhm.
play you, put a battery on your back, push your buttons. We literally call it push your buttons, right?
Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
And if you never want anybody to be able to push your buttons, and the clear path to get there is just facing the truth about the dark side. Some people call it
Yes.
shadow work or whatever.
Yeah,
But when you
shadow
look
work.
into the dark side of your emotions and your motivations, you're not surprised by any of it, then no one can control you anymore. So
Right?
goes the mountain, the talk from the mountain talk, right? But ladies and
Exactly.
gentlemen, let's get into the Breenie Lee video before Joan and I continue to pontificate
I
and
know.
philosophize here. We're going to get into Breenie Lee, and she is telling you, ladies, hey, ladies, so you think you want a rich man? Huh? You think you want a rich man, says Breenie Lee? We're not going to talk about the kinds of men that Breenie Lee dates.
It's kind of obvious.
Okay, exactly. I think it's kind of obvious that she's not dating the guy that worked, whose last job was at Radio Shack in 1999 or something.
No.
No. So fair use, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see.
A lot of men are out here buying women. They buy you to stay silent. They buy you to bite your tongue. They buy you to keep your self-esteem low. That can.
Okay. So let's talk about body language, and forget what she said so far. What she said is inflammatory enough because that's the very beginning of the video. I didn't cut to that point. The body language, the facial expression, and all those kinds of things regarding the topic. What do you see, Joan?
Yeah. Oh, she mad. Yeah. I mean, she's very passionate about this topic. Lots of like, yeah, get it out.
Okay. So men are out there buying you. What do you have to say about that?
Is it really? Men out there are buying you. I mean, I could see that there are some men who think
To
that
keep your
way.
self-esteem low, and all the other kind of curler purple and
Yeah.
barefoot and pregnant type stuff, right? Isn't that what's going on, Joan?
Yeah, I mean, I could see how a woman could feel that way. Like, I mean, the thing is, like, I'm sure with like dating super rich men, like they just have the money, so they can just throw it out, spend it however they want, and if they want to give you gifts, whatever. But like, depending on how the woman is with their self-esteem, is it, yeah, like they can manipulate that situation to look like she's the victim, like, I mean, because women do that. I think I could see her point of view in that, because if she's mad at the guy or there's something about him she don't like, like she can say whatever she wants about him. She can, he might be just buying her a gift because that's what he knows, like that's what he understands, like, oh, maybe I should buy her some, flowers and, a gift because I feel bad. But like, to her, in her eyes, she sees it like, oh, he's just trying to buy me, because he was being a jerk. Yeah, I can see how she could twist that.
Okay. So money is a form of energy, represents how you can get things done.
Mm-hmm.
All human relationships are transactional, though, at the end of the day. So let's say I didn't do the money thing. Let's say I said I was sorry. Let's say whatever. Let's say I said, no, F you, and you better freaking whatever, and I set you straight, and you're like, oh, okay, yes, I guess I was wrong. Whatever it is that I did, whatever the tit for tat was, at what point does it become, oh, the other person is controlling me, versus, I want that kind of guy, and the guy says, hey, I want that kind of woman, and then they interact? Where does it become a store where you go buy these women? In other words, there is interaction, and it's market-like. A lot of our interaction is transactional and market-like, right? So her words are correct when she says buy, but the gesture is what communicates what she's saying, right? So when she says buy, she doesn't mean, we're buy, I pay you attention, you pay me, whatever, all that kind of stuff, right? She's saying it in some kind of almost, shall we say, pseudo black market, what's going on with that? Because look, I take people seriously at their word. Okay. You can't just gloss over the fact that somebody says buy And I know the human relationships are transactional. So she's correct in that regard. But why is she saying bye? Like there's some special kind of crazy bye going on here. What is that?
I mean, if you hear the word bye, obviously, you know, it becomes more than like, you know, it's funny because when you think about like when you give someone attention, right? Or you say pay attention,
pay
right?
them attention.
Pay,
Yep.
you know, so it's kind of interesting how we use that in our language. But then when you hear buy, you know, obviously when you hear the word buy, we think of money. So it's like, oh, am I just something you just, you know, you just buy, you know, like obviously it makes you feel bad. Like as a woman that, you know, in her position, she feels like, oh, am I just someone that you think money can just buy? But whatever. She dates guys that way. She's created her own perspective that that's just how all rich men are. But yeah, when you hear buy, yeah, it sounds a certain way. It sounds like, oh, you know, like I don't mean anything to him, that he thinks he can just buy me. I mean, yeah, it can come off as a negative way of saying. But like again, you can also say, oh, I'm trying to just buy time, right? Like you're trying to buy time for somebody. Or, It's just interesting how our language works, right? Especially the English language, it always can come off a different way.
Yeah. Because that's what we do here, Joan. We don't just stay on the surface. That's why I said body language, the actual words, the truth in the words, and then also the connotations that are they're being expressed by her body language and so on and so forth. I think all that is very important. Okay. So let's see.
Cannot be me. What's worth more? Money, material items, or your soul? Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you guys are doing well. So it is your favorite party pooper. So in today's video, we're talking about, so you want to date a rich man, huh? You really want to be with a rich man, huh? I don't know if you guys have been seeing it recently, but I'm a culture watcher, right? So I'm watching the themes of culture and I'm sitting back and I'm observing, I'm thinking, wow, women are really making rich men the prize. We're really setting them up on a pedestal like, that's what I want. I want a man that's going to pay my bills and pay for everything, and I'm going to sit back and I'm going to do nothing and my life is going to be great. My dear, this is the real world.
Okay. So why are you laughing, Joan?
I don't know. It's funny.
It's funny. Okay, cool.
She's so
Let's talk some yeah. I know why you're so angry at rich men all of a sudden. But let's talk about I guess I think I highlighted it, right? Should we want broke dudes? Is that the solution? Or broke dudes can't abuse you? As a matter of fact, don't they, a lot of women go for the broke dude that is desirable? Your aunt, right? Your aunt didn't go for the lame. She didn't subscribe to my subscription. Pick a lame. She got some broke dude that was, you know, suave, and he didn't end up anywhere. And now the doctor is with Becky or whatever, and she's upset, as you reported. Yeah. So is the solution then the broke dude? No, I'm not going to be that simplistic. I'm not going to be stupid. That is a joke to be like, oh, yeah. No. Even I am not that crazy. But I want to talk about economics here in the sense that, look, hypergamy has served a purpose through human evolution, presumably, right? It is a good way to kind of say, well, what is the way forward? How do we know how the species is to go? What traits, right? So the men compete in all kinds of ways, farming, hunting, this, that, and the other. And the best men, the wealthiest men, which is an approximation for that these days, right? That's what the women want, right? Okay. And then they get to procreate. And so the evolutionary story goes. So the idea that you put that, in other words, productivity on a pedestal, is that a bad thing? Because notice how she said, want to put rich men on a pedestal, like she was the communist, like it was the Communist Manifesto all of a sudden. I'm speaking purely economics here, okay? Economics, I should say. Because this always cuts across all these different aspects, okay? There is an assumption here. I just gave the story evolutionary-wise, okay? We all know women are hypergamous and they want to date at least at their level or above. And generally speaking, it makes sense, you know? And the men compete, women come, they take from the top 20%, on goes the generation. We talk about economic productivity and so on and so forth. We all like our iPhones and blah, blah, blah. So we like productivity. Putting those people on a pedestal, why is that a problem why does she make it seem like we all are communists? It almost seems like she takes it for granted that we're going to find it disgusting that we put people on a pedestal based on economics.
Right. Well, I mean, we're in that time of society where it's all about, if men can do it, women can do it too, right? Isn't that why feminism kind of came to be, equal rights, like just being able to do exactly what a man does. And that, it kind of became this thing where there's women that feel like they don't need men. So it's like, why should they be put on a pedestal? But if you look at the way things were back in the day, I don't know, like 80 years ago or something, that was kind of where still women were, it was okay for women to not make as much as men or more, or, I mean, I don't know. I don't really know how things were with history, but obviously there were successful women in history, but yeah, I think just the generation we're in, the society we're in right now, is just this thing where it's like, yeah, like women don't need men, and, if you date someone who makes more than you, and then he was a jerk by being late or something, all of a sudden like, rich men are jerks, and it's unfortunate. Like, I just feel like people are always looking for something wrong with the other person instead of seeing them for who they really are. We just see everybody like with their label, right? Man, rich, stereotype, rich asshole, so we just get so clouded by what society feeds us, and when you want to be in a relationship, it's just gotten so hard for people to just see the person for who they are. I mean, like, I think last week we were also kind of talking about, like, with her video again about, like, men, and like, are we wanting to women dating men because of our idea of a man, and we're not really seeing the man for who they are. And that's the thing now, like, we're just so caught up with the labels that we just don't really get to know a person. We don't really try to understand. We're not seeking to understand the person to why the way they are. And so when we get triggered by things, it's just so easy to just bash on people, and maybe that other person never really understood why she was mad.
Got it. So let's talk about value for a second, okay? Because I think that you see Proverbs 31, right? I believe that was written a long time ago, right, Joan?
Yeah, like
Okay.
a couple thousand years ago.
So Proverbs 31 was written a long time ago about a valuable woman. A lot of people know about that. People know about that woman, right? And one of the main things, and matter of fact, it was mainly economic, was it not? Right? Okay. And another thing is me growing up in a society where I was able to see just in a couple of generations past, in other words, my grandparents on both sides were kind of polygamous, and that whole kind of thing. Look, grandma was not powerless. Grandma was not going around grandma was not subjugated in any way whatsoever. She had her sphere and her control and her things, whereby women tend to control the market. They go out there and they sell things, while the men tend to do the things in the farms and stuff like that. Okay. So all the commerce tends to be controlled by women. And if you look at Proverbs 31, talking about that woman that goes and she spots that land and she buys it and she cultivates it and she multiplies the storehouse and all that kind of stuff. Value has always been ascribed to somebody who can put freaking food in your mouth, because otherwise you die, right? So whether it be a man or a woman, whether it's the man bringing it in or the woman multiplying it, let me say something about the difference. I've said it before a couple of times in this channel, but let me not say the difference. You see, if men just go out there, they're going to go out there and they're going to hunt. They're going to get this deer. What they're going to do is they're just going to chop the deer up and put it on the fire. Ain't that right, Aaron B? Right? Then they're just going to chop it up. They're just going to throw it on the fire, and they're just going to eat the deer. But women, okay, are going to bring in some of the aesthetic things, such as they're going to take the skin off the deer and say, hey, can I make a rug or a little curtain with this? How about if I tie it around? How about if I take the teeth and put it around my neck and dance around the fire while the meat is cooking, right? And like, hey,
No, that's very true.
Exactly.
She's gonna pick the herb. She's gonna marinate the meat. Like. Come on, do guys actually think about that? It's like, oh, look at those plants. Maybe we should mix that with the deer we just hunted. Like, I don't know if guys think about that.
Okay. Because the point is, people are crazy these days. It's 100% true. I know it. It's one of my basic assumptions. Like, the world is more insane than just being sheep. The world has always been sheep, right? but now they're crazy sheep.
Yeah, crazy.
Can you imagine? Like, let's imagine there should be an emoji, not an emoji, a meme. I'm just thinking it up right now. You know, people have always been sheep. On the left side, you show like just regular sheep, and now it's like crazy sheep. Maybe it's like their faces are red, their eyes are all
like bulging out.
So they're crazy sheep because they're not even in touch with their real selves anymore.
No.
Like that whole thing that I just said about, hey, the man will do this, but what's the value of the woman? The value of the woman is because the man will just roast the meat and eat it. There will be no skin of the this and the this of the that. The house will not be a home. In other words, is the line that I'm drawing here. And whether it be the person who kills the thing or the person who makes the best cloth, these people tend to be remunerated, paid in terms of economic status, wealth, and so on and so forth. And this is what has moved up the human. This is the engine of human progress. Again, I'm speaking economics, and she's throwing in just this sneaking in Marxism. Not that she's doing it on purpose, but because she's so angry.
Yeah.
Because she's so angry, she's just kind of just going ahead and denigrating the whole project of ascribing value to those whom bring value to us, whether it was be the person who got that deer or the best skinner of deer and bead maker and dancer around the fire and making things whatever, and the making of the beer and the juices and the grapes and the marinating. So, and also, yeah, the parts of the meat that are harder to use, the man would have thrown it away. Yeah, men, okay, they kill the deer, they just take like the whatever, like the big, the drumstick, okay? They throw the rest away. The woman will go through all those, we can use this, we can marinate these for a week, and then we can dry it up, we can make jerky with that. These are the things that women tend to do. So Proverbs 31 is there enumerating those things. Again, I just wanted to talk about economic value, about the differences in the role of men and women, and people saying that women didn't work. One of the things I hate so much is when people start saying women got the right to work. As I said, Proverbs 31 was written a long time ago. And that woman was working. And it was the woman that was working that was saying, hey, that's the woman you want. That's the wife. And every man of worth knows that's what he wants. Nobody wants to bring in somebody into their establishment. They're working hard. They're making the money. Bring in some person that's just going to waste it, blow it all, don't understand the value of it. Nobody wants that, right? So I had to go on my little capitalism value. We have always worked together. It's not just a case that one person was working and one person was in a cage. That's crazy. It's all crazy sheep time. Sometimes you just got to wake the sheep up one by one, like, hey. Be sheep, it's fine, but don't be a crazy sheep. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go back to Brini Lee. Let's see what she's got for us. Fair use, as I was taught to say.
My life is going to be great. My dear, this is the real world, okay? This is the real world. And in this video, of course, I'm not talking about all rich men, okay? And there are different categories of rich men, okay? You've got your entertainers, you've got your artists, you've got the guys that are literally businessmen, self-made, got money off of inheritance. There's so many different types of rich men. So I will never generalize all rich men. But what I'm seeing on social media is a big glorification, especially in the Black community, of wanting to be with a rich man. And what I've seen, and to just me thinking psychologically on a deeper level, is that a lot of us grew up really poor. A lot of us grew up poor and without. And let's be honest, the dream, especially for women, would be for us, after all we've gone through, after all we have struggled with, okay, after all the poverty that we grew up in, the dream would be a dashing, beautiful, stunning man to ride in on his white horse, his prince, and takes you to his palace, and you get to be the queen of the castle forever and ever, and they live happily ever after. Scratch that. This is the real world. This is not Disney. This is not Disney. I find a lot of women are increasingly...
What's up?
I just like how she chose like an Asian guy on the white horse.
Very, very anime-like. So after all, any comments about what she said so far?
Yeah, it's funny because she's talking about, oh, this is the real world. No, this is the modern world. I think that's more the realistic thing. It's the modern world. Like in modern times, we've just changed, our perspective to, consumerism and like beauty standards, all the stuff that happens in modern society. But back in the day, it wasn't like that. I mean, I think she, like it's weird. Like she generalized, like, oh, I think we all came from broke, upbringings, and it's like now she's generalizing, her background. And it's like, hey, that's not fair. I
Okay, so
mean,
women have always wanted the rich man. Again, shall we repeat that? And it's not because they're all broken, right?
right.
Okay,
I mean,
so some people hear me. What tends to amaze me sometimes is some people hear me just say, "Hey, me tell them what women want," and all of a sudden, I'm kind of against women. It's a crazy sheep thing again, right? It's like, but anyways, so I'm gonna give her some credence here in the sense that there is the Disney fairy tale though that every woman wants the guy with the horse. There's not enough white horses to go around. I don't know if you've noticed. Not enough Asian guys in those black double-breasted coats riding around in white horses down Crenshaw Boulevard while you're trying to, get something real quick from Le Superior or whatever. Or I try to get some cactus for tonight's dinner. So the idea of, hey, come in the world of reality, I agree with. Now, the whole men buy you, the whole, I don't want to use the word anger, right? Because I don't really think she's angry. But there's a sense of vitriol about it. There's a sense of kind of pre-assumed, hey, if you put this kind of person on the pedestal, it tends to be a bad thing. There's a sense that we've already bought into the Color Purple story. We've already bought into the narrative that it is a world of abuse out there, right? And by the way, someone already pointed out, I don't need to go to Google, okay? Can you guess, Joan, where more domestic violence tends to happen? Is it in the $300,000 homes? I mean, $300,000 a year income homes, the $500,000, the $1 million, or is it in the $40,000 a year home that the violence tends to happen?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know the statistics either, but like, yeah, I mean, I just assume it's in the lower range,
You would be correct. And again, we know, generally speaking, when it comes to just crime in general, bad behavior, broken patterns, and so on and so forth in general tends to go up when you go down in socioeconomic status. So a lot of the stuff just still seems to be a lot of sour grapes, but with one truth, which is this: not every woman definitely can get that guy. Unless you want to go back to my grandpa's time. Well, polygamy is still in people don't do it that much because it's so expensive. But unless you want to go back to my grandpa's time, or you want to do it right now, even where you're willing to share the guy. They're like, hey, granddad, he's got the big compound and this and that. Hey, he had at least 7 of them, right? I think great granddad had 11 of them, 11 wives, right?
Wow.
So why does that happen? Because you want that guy. They're not a lot of them either. Okay, women tend to want to, because here's the thing: with human satisfaction, it's always a relative thing. In other words, the people here that are poor are super rich, when it comes to the poor in Calcutta, India. But it doesn't matter that you tell them that here, because it's all about whom they see as rich over here. It's all about the Joneses. It's always all about what the Joneses are doing, right? So any more commentary here on this, because I want to give her credence on the fact that not all of the women will get that, and there is a fantasy aspect of it, but she's not being very clean. She's quite messy because of all that vitriol, and she's not giving a clean message. It's just you can see her emotions involved. She's mad at somebody, but at least she's telling the truth about the fantasy, right? That not everybody's going to get that.
No, I mean, she sounds like she's generalizing, even though she's saying she's not, but she is definitely taking out her frustrations and just kind of painting a picture that, all rich men are assholes. I mean, I'm sure there are, but whoever this guy is that she's mad at, I mean, she's, like she's serving as like, oh, this is a warning to all the women that want the rich men. Like, it's not going to be like this. It's not going to be like that based on her experience. But, people got to make their own experiences about it. And, it's like, you just have to keep doing it. I mean, if she wants to, I mean, she obviously wants someone who's maybe at her level, or she's probably dated quite a bit of wealthy guys, and I don't know. I mean, as we saw in her last video, she's not very self-reflective. So, you know, if she keeps dating the same type of person, obviously she's going to keep thinking of that like everyone in that kind of category is the same asshole, whatever. But okay, what was my point here? But yeah, so she's trying to serve this like as a warning, like, hey, you know, my ladies, you know, watch out for the rich guys. This is not going to be what you want, you know. But again, people need to make their own experiences. She you know, she has to make her own experiences, and you know, she's never really going to meet the right guy until she keeps dating a bunch of guys, and maybe she might have to go through a couple of assholes before she realizes, like, hey, you know, the best guy might have been in front of her all this time, but because she's so caught up in her past, you know, she's just having a hard time moving forward.
Yes. Very good indeed. Now, I mentioned earlier the ugly women civil rights. I like that one because it's triggering, and you can't just be having boring conversations. Right?
I know, right? You got to trigger.
You gotta think, you know, anyways, and by the way, and Joan, as I said, you know, as we've said before, you've known me for over 10 years, and you know very much it is my personality to always want to be provocative, but not that there's rarely ever emotions in it. There's rarely ever kind of it's. But I want to push the feelings. I want to evoke something out of, you know, whatever, whether it be when I'm singing or dancing or just whatever it may be. It's just clinical type, anyways. So just kind of explain to the people there when I say, you know, that feminism is civil rights for ugly women, is because it's provocative and it also does reflect a reality, perhaps dark, perhaps deep in a little psyche in there, of the truth. And over here, you know, where we discuss with Socrates, we don't hide from the truth. So I said before, the ugly woman. She's not an ugly woman. She represents a different group. She represents the group. I'm not going to tar her and feather her. I'm saying she represents. I'm not saying it's her. Right? You get what I'm saying? Okay. She represents a group. She's an avatar for a group. Two things that she's doing here. Number one is she's saying, hey, I've had these men. It's status signaling.
Right.
Do you see that?
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh, she can get that kind of men. Like she's like, you know, like indirectly.
Ladies in the
like that.
Ladies in the chat. If there's any ladies in the chat, Swan in the chat. Can I get a one in the chat if you know what I mean when she's doing some status signaling by telling you, hey, I know these men. I date these men. Oh, you don't want these men, right? There's some status there. She's been there. She can go to the Hermes store and point to that bag and her man can get it. But she knows these men. There's a little bit of status bragging going on there. Not 100%, maybe like just 5% of what she's doing, but it definitely is part of the mix, okay? The second one is that kind of information thing where, okay, I've been there, I've been in the special rooms, and I got the information. It's content, right? Very valuable content, because not every woman will have access to these kinds of men. She's a good-looking woman, right? Model type, got that chocolate skin. Anyways,
British accent.
Let's not get distracted, Ike. So where was I?
Ike.
Come on, Joe. No. Come on, be nice. So basically, the idea is this. She has been there. She's coming with the news from the top of the mountain. So all that, so far, so good. But the shadow side of it, not her, but what she represents, the shadow side, is I really want to keep these men for myself.
That could be true. Yeah. I mean, I've definitely, I think I've seen that for sure with certain female friends or acquaintances where it's like, oh, you know, I can get this kind of guy. I don't, you know, like I'm the only one who can date these types of guys. You know, I've seen that for sure. Especially, you know, the young,
it's like
pretty
almost telling them these guys are kind of out of your league. I know how to deal with them. Leave it up to me. I'll take care of you. You don't even want go there, you know, that kind of thing.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
So she represents the modern woman whom still, has the beauty thing that she can parlay and play in the old system, which is just the nature system, which is never going anywhere, right?
Yeah.
In other words, the real underground base level flesh system. Okay. Until we become AI, it ain't going nowhere. Okay. So she can still parlay that, but she can also do the status thing now where she gets high status and high pay. But guess what? She can only date men because of hypergamy that are there or higher. She cannot go down and date with the rest of these clowns, right?
Yeah, I mean, she might say she would, but does she really?
Well, she doesn't.
Yeah, but she doesn't.
She shouldn't. She should not. Brini, get yourself keep getting those high value men that you like. Why wouldn't you? It's insane not to, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not the point. I don't know you personally, but I have no judgment in that regard. That's the whole point of this video, is that I disagree with your approach here, Brini, about the whole shaming other women, what might be interpreted as shaming other women for going after these men. So she's got the status. She's been there with these men. She's coming with the particular experience. She's giving you the info, but she cannot date anything other than these men. These are her men, okay? And she's not giving them up. That is something that other women that are listening, your ears should be open to that fact. Whether the truth of what she says, notwithstanding, all those other facts are still true. This is a status game where this is her status men, and she's not coming down from the mountain, and you better leave her damn men alone.
Getting this wanting to be saved complex. And don't get me wrong, I believe in hypergamy. I believe you should either date someone that is on your level or above. You guys have heard me talk about this time and time again. I do not believe in dating down, but I find that there's a lot of unrealistic expectations. All women want a certain type of guy, but unfortunately, there's only a small percentage of men out there that have that, and an even tinier percentage of men who have the character to match. I just find that in the media, rich men are put on a pedestal. They're being glorified. We're seeing them as the prize. If I can only just get a rich man to sponsor my life. A lot of women don't want to be housewives. That's the thing. You think you do, but you just want to be catered to. But you also want to have your own thing as well. And when you're dating a guy that is rich and wealthy, you can't be a modern woman. You cannot be a modern woman.
Okay. At least controversial, what she just said. Some would say total bullshit. You're dating a rich man, you cannot be a modern woman. Whatever the hell modern woman means. Meaning, let me put it this way. She's saying that in 2021, somewhere pick your kind of folksy part of Orange County, maybe Yorba Linda, right? Up in the hills of Yorba Linda, they got the big body, the big body BMWs, okay, in their 5-car, whatever, okay? And this guy is the director of engineering in some big engineering company down at Long Beach, okay? His wife doesn't work, right? Somehow, she can't be a modern woman. Somehow, she doesn't hang out at the county fair with the whatever else they like to do, or the modern things, and doesn't take the girls trip. She doesn't do any of that. Somehow, she's locked up in that house in Yorba Linda, in the basement somewhere, the basement kitchen, and she's always, look, and I put that particular scene there. Maybe somebody has lived in Yorba Linda before. I used to live next door to Yorba Linda in Placentia, right? The point is, I don't know what the hell these people she's talking about are, that if you marry a rich man, you cannot be a modern woman. But yes, the truth though, Joan, you thought I was just going to keep on, I'm fair. I know what she means. In other words, that's why I say, when I say I like to take people seriously, I never just take it at the surface level of like, oh, that's crap that she said. I was like, okay, cool. Here's what she really means. I'm going to take away her attitude from it. Okay. The truth is this: when a man goes out there to try to compete at the peak of a hierarchy system, he is indeed, in certain ways, a very traditional man. Do you understand what I mean by that? Because what's the opposite? The hippie is the opposite. Whatever, man, that's just, or I'm not going to work for Babylon, right? Or whatever it may be, right? It is the very traditional man. Can I get a 1 in the chat? Okay, I'm agreeing with Brini here, as I tend to agree. I agree with, I tar and feather, and I laugh, and I do everything at the same time. The point is this: what she's trying to say is this: it's not that you can't be a modern woman, okay? It means that the man that you're looking for, Prince Charming, okay, is a very traditional dude. Can I get a one in the chat if that's clear? Prince Charming is a very traditional guy, because a traditional guy is the kind of guy that would go and compete in traditional hierarchies, even if he starts a new company, right? In other words, entrepreneurs tend to be the least traditional of the top competitors because they're creatives. Okay. Not to get too complex. I don't think we got too complex. I think at least Joan follows, right? So the creatives who tends to create things, entrepreneurs, right? They're going to be the least traditional of those top competitors. But most people who compete in regular traditional dominance hierarchies, especially those guys at the top, they're pretty traditional. Meaning that they like discipline, they like order, and they're fulfilling their end of the bargain. And then there's something that they want from a woman. They're not looking for another dude, or they're not looking for somebody to help them in the economic realm. They are looking for a woman. In other words, they're operating on that nature level, tradition level. Yep. What she's telling you, women, what she's warning you is, if you're not ready to operate on that level, or to give a man what he wants on that level, then you don't know Prince Charming. Prince Charming is a very traditional guy. Any thoughts?
No, I totally agree with all of that. I mean, if you really think about, okay, so you're talking about economics earlier, but think about the home economics, right? There's the man, traditionally the provider, the woman takes care of the household, and then they pop kids so that they can work the farm. And I've been watching some Amish documentaries, and that's why I bring this up. But I mean, it's very interesting, like the harmony and the balance that these types of lifestyles have, like the way the Amish live. There's the man that, provides for the family, and there's the woman who takes care of the home. And obviously a traditional man works his way up, builds his business, builds his, farm business or whatever. And he wants a woman that supports him in that way, to build that home economic type of lifestyle. So yeah, I mean, the thing is, she says, okay, if you date a rich guy, marry a rich guy, you can't be a modern woman. Well, I've seen this happen before, during my dating scene, and just observing how other people are, and trying to figure out oh, why didn't they end up together, or why is that not the way it is. And I've definitely seen certain men that why didn't they date my friend who's successful and this and that. But I kind of saw it after a while, it's oh, it's because she's just way more, up there, and he feels like he's down here. So he doesn't want to feel like he, dating someone that he has to compete with in that hierarchy thing, So I've definitely seen that for sure. But again, I've also seen this where it's successful guy dates a modern woman because he's wow, she's great, she's independent and this and that. And it works out. Eventually she becomes a homemaker, it happens too, because they decide, they agree, hey, let's have kids, So it's interesting how she just kind of pinpoints just one area of it, but it's okay, why is that? Why, why is it at a rich man can't be with a modern woman? But the way I've seen it in just modern society and the dating scene and stuff like that, I think some men get intimidated by modern women, modern women that, gives off this vibe oh, I don't need a man to support me yet, I want to be with a man. I mean, I've definitely seen that,
That's not a recipe for security in a relationship. Right? I mean, some of these things are just obvious, right? It's okay, I don't want him, but I want him. It's okay, cool. Well, men are intimidated by that. It's yeah, it doesn't seem very stable.
Yeah.
Why would you want to mess around? Why would you want to go over there? Why don't you just go somewhere where somebody says, yeah, I want that, I'll sign on the dotted line, and that's the thing. Why are you looking for craziness, right? People don't want craziness, especially men of this particular caliber. I'm going to reiterate a couple of things, okay? Kevin Samuels, his show has been women in their own voice saying, indeed, this thing which we always know, which I have no problem with, which is that they want that guy, right? Kevin Samuels has been showing us, though, that the women don't know who that guy is, okay, right? And they don't understand. And that because of the people out there from the sour grapes crowd, the people out there from the jealousy crowd, and the people out there from the feminism crowd, they've been told that that guy is Mr. from Color Purple. That guy will beat you, keep you barefoot pregnant, so on and so forth. We wake up one day, shake the cobwebs out of our head, and we say, that doesn't seem to make any sense. I don't see that. That's not happening, bro. People are getting beat up down at the lower rungs of socioeconomic stuff. The woman over there in Yorba Linda in her house, in her big body BMW at Starbucks in the morning, doesn't look like she has any issues with, doing what she wants to do. So I'm part of what the idea here is for men to say exactly what for these types of men to say what they are. These types of men are very structured, very organized, very traditional. They don't like indiscipline or disorder, right? Those kinds of things. Now, for what Brini is telling you, ladies, is the positive message, in other words, is if you want that kind of guy, that's what you need to bring to the table. Proverbs 31. Okay? Like, that is the basic message there. But still, not everybody can get him. But that's the value. This is that's what we're shooting for, that kind of a thing. So now I'm going to mention something to break it down a little bit more subtly, because somebody has a. Can you read this? What's on the screen there, Joan? What I'm sharing, the comment.
So from Josh Morango, interesting distinction you've made between employees and entrepreneurs. Never looked at it like that. Okay.
So generally speaking, it is the case that women just tend to go to the finish line and pick from the guy who won the race, or the top people who win. So it is not the place of women to go. What I mean by that is it's fine if women don't know what men are, what they do, or how they compete, and what the particulars, right? I just go with the guy that everybody says is the top guy. That's a very easy way to do it, right? And that's what women have tended to do. But you cannot eat your cake and have it. In the modern times, when we do no longer have these structures that tell you what the top guy is, you're going to need to be now more 007 and more, shall we say, conscious about it. Am I being clear there, Joan? You now need to know more about the men than before, when you had maybe your church and your father and all the men in your house kind of vetting the men for you, or you do arranged marriages. Before, when you had the arranged marriage or the church or all those other traditions which served as the scaffolding, as the guardrails to lead you to Prince Charming, right? You can afford to be ignorant. Now you got to know Prince Charming. So the distinction I made there is there are at least two types of this Prince Charming type. There is a little bit more, if you like, a little bit more rascally, okay? Then you're going for the entrepreneur type, okay? But you got to understand what that comes with, okay? If you're going for more straight edge, he's the CEO type. There's a difference between a CEO and an entrepreneur, okay? There's a difference between a CEO and an entrepreneur. A CEO is usually a marketer, salesman, creative, start stuff, Steve Jobs. Get it? An entrepreneur is usually that, right? And then a CEO is more of a accountant, straight edge, manager, dot the I's, cross the T's, okay? You need both of them. You need one to start stuff, and you need another one to run stuff, okay? You need one to start stuff. Without the Steve Jobs, creatives, entrepreneur, groundbreaking people, new stuff doesn't happen.
Right.
Without the button-down accountant, CEO types, stuff doesn't last. Systems don't get built. So if you want a little bit of a rowdy guy, and you want him to also possibly reach the Prince Charming status, you're going after entrepreneur type, okay? He's going to be maybe more amenable to modern thinking, right? I would put myself in that category. Well, obviously, I'm an entrepreneur type, right? Entrepreneur, hyper creative, if I may say so myself. So in various aspects. So I'm the kind of guy that I don't see any issues with you saying, oh, you want to be a modern woman, but me also saying, hey, look, there's a space of time here that this woman says she wants, presumably some woman, my wife or something like that, she wants 4 kids. There's a space of time that's ideal to get those 4 kids, okay? Wouldn't it be best if you could just chill and focus on that? Because I heard it's a lot of work, right, Joan?
Oh my God, yeah.
Am I making sense in the chat? I'm like, hey, there's a space of time that it takes to get those 4 kids. I'm fine with you doing whatever. As a matter of fact, we got some business ideas, right? We got some business ideas. But there's a space of time that it takes. It's best for you to get those 4 kids that you actually do want. And will it not just be best if you just focused on that? Don't have to worry about it. I got the rest of it. You just chill. I heard it's hard work. Now, because she's a modern woman, and by the way, that's the kind of woman I tend to like, by the way. In other words, I like a little bit of anyways, I'm the creative. I'm a weirdo, right? I'm not
A little bit of both,
super
right?
straight edge. Pardon me?
A little bit of both.
I like a little bit of both. Exactly. So the modern part of her was like, I don't want to, But again, here comes the submission side, right? What does submitting mean? It means, okay, that there is a final decider. And that even if you're gonna, you're gonna be like, okay, cool, but I'll follow you because it makes sense that there's a window here. And after that, whatever, I'll be 35 or whatever, and then I can start with my medical bus business. Whatever it may be, those things can always happen, but there's a window of time, okay, for this other thing. But let me just go ahead and say now, okay, well, I am expecting a kid, okay, in December, okay? She said later on, she told me, like, hey, you know what? After now she's going through the pregnancy, she's like, I would have hated to have been working right now. Can you guys hear what I'm saying, ladies in the chat and gentlemen in the chat? In other words, I said, hey, look, I'm fine with all that modern or whatever your ambitions, but I understand you got a tough job to do, and it's best you just chill and do that job while I do this job. Equally tasking, okay? And she was a little like, you're gonna control me, you're gonna like this, that, fear. We get it. It's not, this is not to push back on it. People want some kind of autonomy. Whenever it's threatened in any ways, there's a fight or flight response, right? But with time and with trust, right? Now that she's able to just be pregnant and deal with her pregnancy and be like, oh, I guess the sky isn't falling down. And wouldn't it suck to go to work right now? She turned around and said that. So what's so crazy about that, Joan? What's so crazy about that idea?
I mean, it's not crazy at all. It's just, maternal instincts. You want to be there, like as a woman, like just be completely present as you're rearing a child. And then once the child pops out into the world, I mean, it's from just studies I've heard, it's ideal that the mother is just present through the first couple of years of the life. And it's like, well, how do you balance doing that and then working a modern day type of job? It's I could see it's like really difficult, Yeah, congrats, Ike. Like
Oh, I didn't say anything before, huh?
No, you did not.
But you're not surprised, are you? You're not surprised that I didn't say anything.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Yeah, Ike doesn't tell you anything. You just find out,
One
day you're on Facebook and you're like, oh, dang, he's engaged. Wait, I didn't even know he was with somebody. That's how he rolls. He doesn't tell you anything.
It's not on purpose. It's not on purpose. I just there's a lot of busy things going on. We got gigs to do. We got stuff to do. Can't be talking about babies and stuff. Babies. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's continue with this. Again, so far I agree with her that not everyone's going to get Prince Charming. And so far I agree with her that, look, Prince Charming is a very traditional guy. Okay?
Yeah.
And that's part of Kevin Samuels' message, that the work that it takes to be with this high value man is actual work. It is Proverbs 31. I've been quoting the Bible. It's almost like a sermon. Quoted that. Everybody should go check it out. Proverbs 31. At least every woman should read that wants to deal with a man or see what exactly it is that a top guy needs from his woman, right? So it's very traditional, very kind of structured, and so on and so forth. So let's continue with Breenie Lee. So basically she's warning, hey, if you're not ready to put up with that, if you're not ready to live that kind of life, maybe you don't want that guy, right?
Yeah.
Expecting 1960s treatment. You're gonna have to pick one. If you want to be a housewife, you've got to be an old school housewife. Do you want to cook? Do you want to clean? Do you want to cater to your man? Do you want to not have to work? Like literally, no side hustle.
Do you want to cater to your man, Joan, or do you don't want to cater to your man?
Oh God. Okay. I mean, so I would consider myself a little bit of both, modern woman trying to start a business. I have my, creative stuff that I like to do. But yeah, in a traditional sense, I'm an amazing cook, you know, like, you know, I cook for my husband, and I don't have a problem with that because, again, the home economics, you know. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I would just say, you know, it's okay to be both, and then you find the balance, you know, of like, okay, when's the time to be this modern woman? When's the time to be just a traditional woman? I mean, it really just depends on like what you and your partner's, you know, path is together. And I think there's nothing wrong with both, because we do live in a modern society where, hey, you know, like me, I'm creative type. I like to do things. I want to share things with the world. I want to do something because it's just my, you know, that's just what I want to do. But at the same time, I acknowledge, you know, my traditional traits, you know, being, you know, a woman that cooks. Like, I don't have a problem with that, and I enjoy cooking. But yeah, I mean, for me, like, a little bit of both, you know. I mean, my husband and I, we're both like still in the like the build up phase of our business, and he's starting up another one, and it's, you know, like, I support him in that. We help each other no matter what, and I realize that, hey, we're doing this for each other, with each other. And I think that's really important, that, you know, when you get into a relationship, that you guys are on the same page about where your life path is that you share together. You know, I mean, I have my own thing, he has his own thing, we have a thing together, and we're just supportive of each other in that way. And I think that's just really important, that you come to this agreement, like, hey, you know, this is what I want to do, and this is what you want to do. And I mean, with her, it just sounds like, you know, she wants something, obviously, like she's like, she has a picture of a like perfect relationship, and she hasn't quite found that, because she wants to be that modern woman. But like, okay, so what is your ideal relationship being a modern woman? I mean, I would love to hear that. You know, I would love to hear her perspective, like, okay, what kind of guy does she really want to be with? What kind of relationship, you know, does she like, what kind of harmony is she looking for? And, you know, does she want, you know, like, is
There
she
is no
totally
structure or guardrails or anything, and this goes a theory, and I'm going to state it quickly, and then I'm going to play a nice swath, and then we'll probably, because I know it's approaching. This went very quickly, or is it just me? It's already like
yeah, it
past
went by
7.
really quick.
Yeah, like we kind of got lost in this one here, but basically, here goes the theory. Okay, what is the modern woman? Right?
Mhm.
Okay, there are 2 kinds of violence out there. Okay, there's the violence that men do, and there's the violence that women do. Okay, what I mean is physical violence, because you got upper body strength. That's what you're gonna use, right? What do women do? Okay, they got that tongue thing going on. Okay, and they're gonna destroy each other and everybody else around them. And women don't like each other because of that too, right? So we get it. We get that. Regulations need to be placed on both men and women so they don't fuck everything up with their violence, right?
Mhm.
Regulations on physical violence are easy. It's external. You put chains in the guy's hands and you'd lock him in prison. Regulations in spiritual violence, emotional, psychological violence has to be in the realm of culture, norms, shaming, and so on and so forth, right? Modernity has removed the warden from one side of the violence. It has removed church, state, whatever, all that stuff. Yeah, you just go do whatever you want with that side. There is no criminal justice system on that side anymore. Hence, there is no guardrail or anything. There's not anything she's looking for other than just keep no criminal justice. I don't want no warden around here, no sheriff around here. So goes broad strokes, the theory. Broad strokes again, okay? Not nobody come from me and say, oh, it's inconsistent, so on and so forth. Just generally speaking. So the idea that men and women sin differently is nothing new. But
Mhm.
how do you check their sins? You have to check their sins differently. Okay.
Yep.
And a lot of women are unfortunately very blasé about the danger of emotional violence. You can have been, I got hit by a car when I was a kid, busted my knee and all that kind of stuff, and it was pretty painful. I don't remember that pain.
Mm.
Physical pain goes away like that.
Yeah.
You know what destroys people's lives though? You know what they never forget?
Emotional pain.
The things people say.
Yep.
Right? The things people say. And a lot of women are just blasé about it these days. Like, I'm just gonna say, well, it doesn't really matter. He was abusive. The whole time you were a wicked. Or, as Kevin Samuels like to say, were you a shrinking violet in that relationship? Oh, so one day you were just sitting there and it's like, no, the whole time they were just tongue lashing the hell out of this person. And it's just kind of like, there's no big deal about that. It doesn't really do anything. How dare we? You're not man enough to handle me. Right? You know that one, right? We know that shit. So that's the theory here. The theory is, want to be free to continue with your violence is what I want to be a modern woman is, in a very, shall we say, non-generous way. And I'm being very partial and non-generous, but for the interest of broad strokes. I don't know if you had any thoughts about that. Violence on one side, violence on the other side, both need to be checked. One can only be checked one way, one can only be checked the other way. And the ways by which that the emotional and psychological violence were checked, which are these traditions, have been removed. And now it's all crazy country.
Yeah, I trying to like summarize that for everybody in a shorter sense, but realizing how a man thinks versus how a woman thinks, right? Like the masculine traits, the feminine traits, it's important that you recognize both. You recognize both, like how your man thinks and like how the woman thinks, and the way they I guess the way they react, right? Like the way they communicate. And that's something that, yeah, it needs to both be checked. It can't just be one or the other. It's, you're talking about like the man's ego versus the woman's ego, very different the way they function. And if you don't understand how that works, like how men are just more like straightforward, logical, or they plan things out. Everything's organized in a way in their heads, where women are a little more chaotic, way more emotional. They hurt others with words, whereas men are more likely to hurt you physically. Like you have to understand like that dynamic between each other when you're in a relationship, so that when problems arise, you can figure out like, okay, what's really going on here? Like he might be saying something to you that as a woman you might think like, oh my God, like why did he say that? That hurts my feelings. But was he really hurting your feelings? You understanding how the men think, like how the masculine traits are. Do you really think he's trying to hurt your feelings, or maybe he's just expressing something the way he understands it, in a logical sense? And as a woman, like, yeah, like we have to check ourselves in that way, where it's like, I'm taking it maybe way more personally than I need to, whereas a man is just saying it as it is. Men just say things as it is, and women get more emotional about it. And I think when you understand both sides of that, you have much better understanding of each other, and the relationship thrives more just because you understand it. And that's something I think a lot of people misunderstand when they're in a relationship. It's just like, no matter what, we're in a modern society, the masculine traits do come out, the feminine traits do come out, whether you're a modern person or not. Like it just, our natural traits still come out, like the way women communicate, the way men communicate. It's just the way it is. Okay.
All right, let's get a nice chunk here and then wrap things up.
So what are you going to do whilst your husband is working and grinding 24/7? You're gonna get bored. But like I said, I'm not here to judge. If that's you, then do you. But I feel like we've made so many advances in this world for us women to want to take steps backwards.
And as the world is advancing, so is our opportunities, ladies, to make something of ourselves. So let me ask you a question. Is there a skill that you always wanted to learn but didn't have the time or know where to start? Why not try Skillshare? Skillshare is an online learning thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious
It's a sponsored
people.
video, I guess.
You can explore new skills.
That being rich in this world comes.
Okay, you know what? Since there's time, because I think that there's one main thing that she said there already that we can react to and then give our closing thoughts on. She said, hey, if you want to go date with my men, right? These men that that you should leave to me. Fine, do you? But we've made so many advancements for you want to be going backwards. Again, I take these people seriously at their word. And I can't help it. I'm somebody who hears things. And because I have a philosophical framework, I can draw it all the way from the psychology to the epistemology to the economic implications and so on and so forth. You can't just say things like that, right? Like, what does it mean? This person wants to be with a particular kind of man, which women have always wanted, right? And somehow it's backwards, and not just backwards, but somehow bad. And by the way, I'm going to say something about backwards. Okay. Backwards, a lot of times, is the right thing to do.
Is it backwards though, or is it, getting
Only
in
in
touch with your
time.
roots? Are you
In
getting
time, yeah. Backwards in time in terms of just moving the society back in certain trends. The idea is this, okay? The idea is called progressivism.
Mhm.
Forget liberal, or that's not what I'm saying. It just means that it's a very stupid idea. Okay? It just means that whatever time is going, that's the right place. What the hell is that? Oh, we progressed into nuclear weapons and killing each other in ridiculous world wars. That's good, right? Let's keep the napalm. Whatever we just happen to be happening is all good. No, it's stupid. It just, all it says is whatever time is doing, just keep doing it. And if you want to say, hey, whoa, why did we just do that crazy thing? How about if maybe this is a mistake? Maybe I want to go back to Camelot with, or maybe I'm more comfortable living my life this way. Then, oh, you see, we've made so much progress. Why are you taking us backwards? Again, I recognize this as polemical. In other words, political rhetoric. That you're not gonna slide that one past me, Brini, where you just say backwards as though it was a bad thing, as though somehow history has this. And it's all these atheists or these modern people. They talk as though the history has this kind of a God machine pushing it forward, always in the right direction. It's like, who said what you're doing in the past 10 years is the better choice compared to what you were doing for the past 100,000 years?
Yeah,
Any thoughts, Joan?
I mean, who says the way we live now is the right way? Who says, like, who's really the one to, judge that? I mean, it's funny because when you really think about what's going on now, especially in the last couple of years, I feel that, I mean, I notice a lot of people are actually wanting to go back to like older times. Like I see that trend on YouTube, people wanting to live off grid and like becoming like sustainable. Like, is that being backwards? No, I think it's people are slowly starting to get in touch with the way we used to do things, but it's more like doing things the way we always have naturally done it, and it worked for a very long time. But again, back to what we're talking about, like, yeah, who's to say that the way we live now is the right way? I mean, are we actually improving our harmony with nature? Probably not. I mean, we're building all these things, we're creating all this trash. I mean, but at the end of the day, like, Mother Nature wins, and people are getting in touch with nature, and there's nothing wrong with that. And if it's a woman wants to just have children and raise her children, and so be it. That's not backwards. It's just nature. That's just the way it is. That's just, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to get into too much all the new stuff that's happening now, where it's like, like now they're trying to take pregnancy, experience away from women, and now it's like they're not called women anymore. They're called what's that? Birthers now. They're not mothers anymore. They're that's what modern society is doing now. It's like, it's so I think it's just so complicated now. Like, modern society is so complicated now, and it doesn't have to be, but modern people are just making things more complicated. That's why people are depressed, people are anxious, people are crazy, people are just nuts.
Crazy sheep.
Yep.
People have always been sheep, but now they're crazy sheep. So let me lay I'm going to lay my card on the table regarding something, and then I'm going to give you the final word. We'll try again. We'll try for final word this time again. So one card I'm laying on the table is this. For people like me, okay, and sometimes it doesn't work. Like, this is not the kind of thing that's good for content. Because content is always good to have like a character. Like, I'm going to be out here and be like, Brini, can you believe what Brini Lee said? She wants it. But that's not me, right? Like, I just look at things philosophically. I say my truth. It stands. I make sure it's clear. If you don't see it, you're insane. Okay, that's my claim. But people like me benefit from chaos. Let me say that again. Remember the entrepreneur type? Remember the creative types of people? Okay? Me and Joan are fine up in the hills in the mountain when things are chaotic because we think that way. We know levers and move this and do that. Trade-offs, happiness, whatever, ego, this, that, the other. We'll be fine. All right? I'll be fine I'm going to make all this money. I'm going to build this empire. I'm going to do all this crap that I've been doing all my life. And I'm going to have a great time doing it in this modern society. It is not from a place of kind of personal dissatisfaction. As a matter of fact, what this kind of people, the creative people, okay, let me not put that. That sounds like, oh, I'm putting us in a kind of elite class. The intuitives, okay, and that tends to be like your hippie, creative, entrepreneur type, okay. We do very well in times of chaos, okay. We don't do well in times of order. As a matter of fact, they tend to kill us in those times. We're the witches that get burnt, right? We are the people whom, you know, the Galileos, we get killed by the sheep in regular times. This is my time. This is Joan's time. This is the time of the creative when things are chaotic. So it's not because I'm trying to run into some kind of a ordered castle. F no. I never live in order. I create my own order. But it is just to point out, okay, the craziness that's going on in the world with regards to freedom, nature, and equality, that people want to have their cake and eat it too. And people don't understand that there are trade-offs in life, but there are no perfect solutions. People don't understand that the nature and the desires of your nature are not going to change just because you read some book somewhere. It's not going to change. And hypergamy is an example of that desire that we do have. And that desire is not going to change. It's going to always be there. Women are always going to want that guy. Okay, so saying, hey, what is that guy? And can everybody get him? And so on and so forth is the right approach, rather than tar and feather people, rather than try to shame women for wanting that guy, rather than want to go all sour grapes. Oh, the guy's going to beat you. He's going to do all that kind of crap. Look, these things are data points. People do get abused, but the trends do not suggest that the narrative that is being built is my case here. But again, I'm making the point that this is not out of some kind of personal desire, because chaotic world is built for people like me. I survive and I thrive in the chaos because that's my personality type. I'm an entrepreneur, creative type. You know what I'm saying? You all right there, Joan? You surviving?
Yeah, no, I heard everything. It's just like the battery died and like, you know, chaos. But, you know, hey, I prevailed.
Indeed. So go ahead, give us your last word. You know, as you heard, I was just telling them that, look, man, I'll be fine. And as a matter of fact, these times are built for me because I create stuff out of chaos anyways. I don't like order. Order is constricting to me only when it comes to what I call logic. I like the order of logic. It's an independent order. I did not create it. It's kind of a, shall we say, axiom of the universe. That is my only order. And I will be fine with all the other chaos of the world. But to the people who want to listen to me, because I do have some insights, I can show you all the stuff that the crazy people are saying, trying to make you crazy. And they're lies, okay? They're 100% lies. Give us your last word, Joan.
Okay, so back to, you know, the topic at hand with rich people, dating rich people and all that. Okay, so the thing is, you have to just make the experience for yourself. There's people like her that shares her experience. That's her experience. That's her perspective. But you, different personality, different type of person, you know, maybe if you date the same guy that she does, it might work out because, hey, maybe you understand something that she doesn't. At the end of the day, you know, yeah, we live in modern times. There are definitely certain types of expectations that are made from us in modern society. You know, again, modern society expects us to like all, you know, be like super like hardworking and all that. And that's just the culture that we're in, you know, like hustle and bustle and all that. But at the end of the day, when you're seeking out a partner and you're, you know, a woman seeking out someone that is like at your level higher, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, because if we go back to nature, you know, women want, we want to be, feel protected by men. That's just how our nature is. And also the home economics, you know, like we want to, you know, be, you know, create a family of harmony where everybody has their role, because that's just the way we live, you know, like being here on earth as humans, we all play roles and there's nothing wrong with that. So, you know, at the end of the day, just, you have to make your experiences and just, you know, learn on the way, be open to understanding the person for who they are and not just the stereotype. And, you know, that's how you learn and grow. And this is what we're meant to do, is to learn and grow while we're here on earth. So make your own experiences, seek to understand, and, you know, you'll be fine. Nothing wrong with being a modern woman.
All
nothing
right.
wrong with being traditional. You know, you can be both.
All right. And we're gonna take ourselves out here with some music. This has been another successful edition, another successful episode of the Review with Ike and Joan, where we take items from popular culture and we don't just go surface level. We go deep. We took Brini Lee and we took things beyond the surface. We analyzed her body language. We analyzed things from an economic perspective. We talked about Proverbs 31 and what it is to be a valuable woman, what it is to be a valuable man. Now, yes, that kind of man needs to be on top of the pedestal because he's going to protect you while you're pregnant and while you're nursing the baby. Who do you want? Someone who's incapable? You insane? No. And other women, stop telling women to leave these guys alone. Oh, you want a wealthy man? Oh, he's going to be an older man and he's just going to take advantage of you. And it's like, auntie, we get what you're doing. You want him. That's why you don't want me to go for him. Okay. Right. These aunties out there telling their 25, 26-year-old girls, oh, you don't want an older man. No, leave him alone. No, he's no good. And then they go chasing him. Okay. We get it. Sour grapes, jealousy, so on and so forth. These are basic human emotions. Okay. Hands are clapping and raising. Ain't that right, Joan?
Yep. You do you. Like what she said, you do you.
You do you. Ovation and pleasant demonstration, feet are shuffling and shaking, lights are blazing, feeling the pure contagion, and we build a joyful montage that the hands of evil can sabotage. To my family here and at large, you should learn to live and take charge. Feet are shuffling and shaking. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, we are out, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time, peace.
In the den of iniquity, vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment, what a pity. Tomorrow never certain, what was behind the curtain, the face of evil lurking with the shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble, that either pop or topple, many will fall and stumble, let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso, cannon could reach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, come, make me get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, come, make me get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, make me get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners.